So thank you very much that you found the time and your time here in São Paulo for us to meet us for our interview in Ola Polonia. How are you doing?
It's a pleasure. Well, thank you.
Pleasure
Glad to be here with you.
Tell us, please, how do you feel when you return to Brazil?
Well, you know, I was born here, so it's always been, my country. I have like a Brazilian heart here always. I'm half French, half Polish. My father was Polish, my mother was French, but I lived most of my life here, so every time I come back, it's always a pleasure to be here, to see all my friends, and coming back to my, I would say, new roots, because of course my Polish family is more important, and all my roots are like centuries in Poland, and here it's something new for me, 40 years, and for my family only 60 years.
Yeah, you are like the 15th generation that is really written in the history of the Sanguszko family. So for our viewers who don't know, yes?
Exactly.
How does it feel to, not everybody from us viewers and me talking here with you, have an honor to know so many people backwards in their family?
Well, on one side I would say it's a heavy heritage, also carrying all this, I would say, this on our shoulders, especially being the last one. Actually, I have a daughter, Olympia, my daughter Olympia, but well, we are the two last Sanguszko, so it's heavy. But on the other side, I would say it's fantastic to be able to develop what my family has been doing for the country, what they have been doing in Lithuania, then in Poland, and today in Poland, and still I'm going about 2-3 times in Poland, and also doing a lot of things, cultural things in Poland too.
Tell us, please, when you grew up here in Brazil, what was your identity? How did you feel? How did your father raise you? With what consciousness? With what rules? What history especially?
Well, especially I would say the important history of my family, the roots, where the roots were, because of course it was a different time and we had few contacts with Poland. It was a difficult time to have contacts with Poland, so it was mostly, I would say, history. My grandfather was still alive, so, and he was I would say the last one to have lived in Poland, because my father left when he was 2 years, so he had no stories to tell us. So this was very important for us to hear all the stories, and especially for me when I was the first one that came back to Poland 50 years after, in 1990, after my father had died. I was the first one who came back, so for me it was very important to have, I would say, all the stories. I could know everything, I knew everything, I knew the places, so it was very important for me. And when I came back, I must say it was very hard, it was full of emotion, because being the one coming back after 50 years.
And what have you been doing there in this moment? Because like you say, this history is everything. You grew up, you lived, your families for centuries lived, and suddenly you're there, standing in Poland. What did you do? What was your
I would
goals?
say, of course, it was very different when I came back, because most, I would say, was part of the history. It was in the history. So when I first arrived in Poland, it was in Warsaw, where I would say my family was less present. We were more present on the region of Kraków and Tarnów, where were the places my grandfather was living, and what today is Ukraine, Lvov's region, near Lvov, especially the castle of Pothorzce. This was the last place where my grandfather was living, and from there he left after to Brazil. So I would say the first thing was to see that the Sanguszko were still alive. I mean, even after 60 years, the real history of Poland, the history of the noble families, and especially for me, the Sanguszko family, was still alive. People remembered people, I mean, and they had quite a lot of respect for us, as we had too, because we helped a lot also the Polish by sending things. We helped a lot, even from here, from Brazil. So this was, I think, a very important moment for me to come back to Poland.
And did your grandfather told you the stories how this looked like in practice, leaving Poland, leaving all this heritage in destroyed Europe, in Poland that was torn apart, honestly?
I think for him it was a very, very difficult decision, because my great-grandmother was there and she decided not to leave. So he had to make the decision. My grandmother had died, and he had a 2-year-old boy, which was my father. And I think it was very hard for him to leave Poland, to leave, all his roots, everything, his family and all his history. And especially, coming in a country, such a different country that was Brazil. And I can imagine that in the first time, he would imagine that after a few years, when this horrible war would have finished, he would have come back. But history made it different, and he never came back, and neither my father came back. And I was the one who came back 50 years after, in a, I would say, totally different country, totally different part of the history.
And when your grandfather decided to stay here in Brazil, what was the life here for them? Was it good? Were the Brazilians open for a royal noble family like yours? How did the transition look like, and the decision to stay?
I think so. Brazil was, at one point, it was an empire. You had the king of Portugal who was here, the emperor of Brazil. So I think this is something that they knew about it. This is not it was not a surprise to have nobles. They knew about it. They knew about the history. And also what was important, that a lot of Polish came also. There was this famous boat, and a lot of Polish came here, so they got together. They had the same history, same languages, same type of food, same type of, I would say, day-to-day life. This was important. And after this, my grandfather had this idea of creating a place where all the Poles could meet. And this was Sociedade Sanguszko de Beneficência, which was actually the company before Casa da Polônia, Casa Sanguszko de Cultura Polonesa, which was one of the main sponsors for yesterday's events, which today still continues this, I would say, this partnership to promote Polish culture here in Brazil. So by creating this, I would say, this place, this would make Polish feel like in their country. We had a Polish cook, so we could have Polish dishes, and of course this is very different of what we have here, and especially more a winter, I would say, food, so it was quite different. But they could still have this, as we had yesterday. We had what we had the vodka,
pierogi.
But we had pierogi.
Pączki.
We had pączki, so this, you could people could feel a little bit of
taste of Poland.
Taste of Poland. So this was, I think, very important for them, and it was a place where all the Poles could meet.
And tell us, when they decided to stay here to continue the Polish traditions, to spread them by these Polish people who lived here, how did you continue the life here? Like, you lost a lot of your heritage in today's Ukraine. Yeah, these powers, they took it away from you. Mm-hmm. How could you continue living here?
Well, it was difficult because, of course, it was a change of life in a couple of days.
Yes.
Things had changed, but I think as millions of people have suffered the same thing when they had to leave, and still today are having the same problem. Brazil. One of the most fantastic things here is that they put people here like if you were a Brazilian. So here there's no difference. If you are, there's no difference of colors, no difference of a religion. Everybody can meet, everybody can do business. So I think this is probably one of the most fantastic things that Brazil has. So would make people, I would say, be comfortable and wanting to stay. And that's how, most of the Poles that came here never came back.
That's true.
Yeah.
And if you could tell us also, how did your growing up life look like? Because many people imagine that the royals, that the kids, they get everything they want, they live in castles, because you are a prince, yes? We cannot forget this.
Exactly.
So it's an honor. And tell us, with what rules did your grandfather and your father raise you up? What were the principles that you were growing up?
I would say first, respect. Honesty, remember the roots of the family, paying attention to small details, I would say, but also not forgetting what Poland was, not forgetting what people in Poland were suffering, and trying to make contact and trying to keep history alive, history of Poland, that I would say for a few years maybe was not spread abroad. It stayed in Poland, but we tried to keep it alive here. So it was very important too. And I would say hard work also was something that we had to do, because I mean things had changed. So we had to start working, but not forgetting who we were and who we owe respect to.